At Six Flags St. Louis, a battle has begun. A battle of speed, airtime, and force. A battle where steel roller coasters take on some of the best wooden thrill machines in the country. Where all-time classics square off against the modern age superheroes. 8 roller coasters at this Midwest theme park will compete in our first ever coaster tournament. Coasters such as Batman the Ride, The Boss, Screamin' Eagle, and Mr. Freeze. Who will come out on top? You voted on Instagram, and now it is time to reveal our winner for the best roller coaster at Six Flags St. Louis. Hey everyone, this is Cullah Hale-Benz from Destination Thrills, and today we are introducing our Six Flags St. Louis Coaster Tournament. Now, voting has happened all week long, and we've gone through quarterfinal rounds, semifinal rounds, and just on Saturday, we had our championship rounds complete. So let's go over the tournament and everything that took place. There are some surprising results and some results that I think everyone will not be shocked by. Now, full disclosure, I have a cold right now, so if this voiceover sounds a little bit nasally, my apologies, but I wanted to get these results out to you guys since you have been voting all week long, and I'm sure you're excited to find out who won this tournament. All right, so let's get right into the results. Here was the bracket that we unveiled on Wednesday. We had Mr. Freeze as the number 1 seed taking on Mine Train. We then had the Boss as our number 2 seed on the right side of the bracket, taking on Ninja. Then we had American Thunder taking on Pandemonium. And then the final portion of our bracket, we had Screamin' Eagle, the 5th seed, taking on Batman the Ride, our number 4 seed. And this is the battle that I expect to be close to this 4th seed versus 5th seed matchup. This is going to be really interesting. And as we go throughout the tournament, I'm really excited to see what kind of matchups we find and who will compete in the championship. Now, if you have been voting on our Instagram page, you probably already know who's in the finals, the third place matches, and so on. So we are going to go through these results on how we got to our championship matchups pretty quickly. Let's start out with Mr. Freeze versus the Mine Train. Mr. Freeze wins this battle pretty easily. As you can see, over 80% of the vote for Mr. Freeze. Moving on to the bottom portion of this bracket, Screamin' Eagle versus Batman. It actually wasn't as close as we thought. Batman won 73% of the vote and moves on to the semifinals. Let's go to the other side of our bracket. We had the Boss versus the Ninja. And no surprise here, the Boss wins 78% of the vote and moves on. And then our final quarterfinal matchup, we had American Thunder versus Pandemonium, and American Thunder with a huge win, 88% of the vote, and moves on. So obviously the winner of the quarterfinal matchups will move on to the semifinals. The losers will move on to a 5th place consolation bracket, which we'll get into in just a second. But let's get into our semifinal winners. Our first semifinal was Batman versus Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze being the 1 seed, I would expect to win this, and it did 82% of the vote. Mr. Freeze just has that intensity and that fear factor with the launch, the section where you go backwards, the amazing top hat and vertical spike. Batman is a solid coaster and a great layout for an invert, but it just cannot compete with the intensity and the fear that Mr. Freeze brings. All right, let's get into the other portion of our semifinals. It was Boss versus American Thunder. I thought this matchup was going to be really close just because these are 2 top woodies of the park, and a lot of coaster enthusiasts brag on American Thunder, especially with it being the newest major coaster at the park. I know Boomerang was before that, but I don't consider it a major coaster. So it's smoother, it's got some intensity to it. I love the transitions on American Thunder. But personally for me, Boss is the king. It is just so tall, and just the out-of-control sensations are amazing. So personally, I would pick Boss, and it looks like you guys did as well. 64% of the vote going to the Boss, and it will move on to the championship round against Mr. Freeze. All right, before we move on, let's see who won the first round of our consolation bracket. On the first side, we had Mine Train versus Screamin' Eagle. And Screamin' Eagle, being the coaster that it is, the classic, wins 83% of the vote. Again, no surprise here, it will compete in our 5th place matchup. And then the competition between Ninja and Pandemonium. This, I think, could be really close just because Ninja is a love it or hate it coaster. A lot of people do like the Ninja. I know people are going to be surprised when they hear that, but I do know some guests that love the Ninja. And Pandemonium is just an all-around great ride. It just doesn't have the same intensity that Ninja has. So I expect this to be close, and actually it was. 55% of the vote went to Pandemonium, which will move on to our 5th place matchup. Ninja will compete against Mine Train for 7th place. All right, so now we've made it to our championship round, and now you've seen how we got here. So voters voted on Saturday for these championship rounds. Our 1st place matchup is going to be between Mr. Freeze and the Boss. Our 3rd place matchup is going to be between American Thunder and Batman. 5th place matchup is going to be between Pandemonium and Screaming Eagle. And finally, the 7th place match, which we'll get to right now, Mine Train versus Ninja, another one that I expect to be close. On one side, we have Mine Train, which just has a lot of sentimental value with guests. It has been around for a long time, and it has that classic feel to it. It's that classic Aero Mine Train, and so it doesn't have the most intense layout, and it certainly doesn't have those exciting elements, but it is a fun classic ride. And then you have Ninja, which has a lot of exciting elements, but doesn't perform them very well and actually provides a rough coaster experience. Both are Aero, so which Aero is better? Well, our winner of the 7th place matchup is Ninja with 51% of the vote, so just edging out Mine Train to win that 7th place matchup. Mine Train will have to settle with 8th place. All right, let's move on to our 5th place matchup. We have Screaming Eagle versus Pandemonium. I don't expect this to be a tight contest here, just because Screaming Eagle is just that classic ride as well, but it also has the intensity, and it has one of the best night rides in the park. So if you are a Six Flags St. Louisan, as I like to say, if Six Flags St. Louis is your home park, Screaming Eagle is one of your top rides, unless you just can't stand wooden coasters. So our winner of the 5th place matchup is Screaming Eagle with 71% of the vote and takes 5th place. Moving on to our 3rd place matchup, we have American Thunder versus Batman. Now, Batman absolutely destroyed Screaming Eagle in the first rounds, so I actually think Batman could be the winner of this 3rd place matchup. I've kind of been surprised on how well Batman has done so far, and so I really think the voters are going to go for that smoother inverted coaster and barely beat out American Thunder. So our results of this matchup is American Thunder wins with 54% of the vote, again just narrowly beating Batman the ride. So American Thunder grabs 3rd place in the coaster tournament, and now it is time for our championship round. We have Mr. Freeze, a beloved coaster from everyone who attends Six Flags St. Louis. Growing up, it was always talked about being the scariest ride there. Everyone talked about, have you done Mr. Freeze? Have you done Mr. Freeze? It was that ride that everybody looked up to, and that was like, if you did Mr. Freeze, you were able to conquer every ride in the park. But for me, as I've gotten to ride more roller coasters and I've been going to the park for years now, the Boss has grown on me. I used to think it was really rough and annoying, but actually the Boss has become my favorite ride in the park. You just can't beat that out of control experience. And this is another coaster, when you ride it at night, it is breathtaking. So personally, I would choose Boss to win the championship, but I do feel like there are a lot of Mr. Freeze fans out there, so this one could be a close matchup. All right, let's reveal our winner and the champion of the Six Flags St. Louis Coaster Tournament, and that is Mr. Freeze with 65% of the vote and is our winner of the Six Flags St. Louis Coaster Tournament. Congratulations to Mr. Freeze and its fans out there for winning this battle. Thank you to everyone who participated on our Instagram page. If you want to participate in future battles and coaster tournaments, I suggest you follow us at Destination Thrills on Instagram. We will post them to our story, and we'll give you a heads up on when tournaments are happening through our Instagram posts and other social media channels. So again, you're going to want to stay tuned to that to find out more. I have tons of coaster tournaments coming up and big coaster duels on the way, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you all for watching this video. If you like these coaster battles, I actually have several coaster duels that I've conducted so far. I'm going to leave the link to the playlist in the card above. And as always, if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to Destination Thrills, the destination for all the latest theme park news and content. I'm Cullah Hale. Have a good one.